Meanwhile, the Trump administration's battle against Chinese telecom giant Huawei intensifying this morning. This comes on the heels of the revelation that Huawei reportedly has even more access to information, possibly about you, than previously thought. Intel sources say that they've known for years that Huawei builds covert access for the Chinese government into its mobile hardware, software, and systems known in the cyber world as backdoors. Joining me right now is Huawei Technologies Chief Security Officer Andy Purdy. And Andy, it's always great to see you. Thanks for coming back this morning.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
So you and I have had this discussion over and over again about backdoors, and I mentioned to you in our last interview, in fact, talking about Vodafone, talking about what happened in Africa, in Europe, where there are backdoors within Huawei equipment that allows the data to go right back to the communist government. You have said over and over that it's just not true. Now we have confirmation from the federal government. Your reaction?
Well, I think it's fantastic news that the United States has decided to declassify this information that they've been providing to our allies without being able to convince them. So I would ask the U.S., please release the so-called evidence, because as Deutsche Telekom, as Vodafone Germany said, they're not worried. They provide the equipment that's necessary for lawful intercept. Our equipment doesn't do that. We do not have that access, and that's the facts. And so I'd encourage the U.S. government to bring their so-called evidence forward.
Well, wait a second. We actually do have evidence, and you know that. Your company has settled with a number of technology companies as a result of this, among other issues, not to mention the theft of intellectual property. And we know Vodafone Italy had this issue. Vodafone Italy found out that there were backdoors, and then they had to raise their hand, tell Huawei executives there are backdoors here, and then you did some kind of an adjustment, and you said that you changed the back door. So we actually do indeed have evidence that there are backdoors, Andy, and you know that. You're the chief security officer.
Well, last time I was on your show, I encouraged you. I even offered to let you use my phone to call Vodafone Italy, because Vodafone Italy does not believe that Huawei had backdoors. They do not believe that what you just said is true. But the great thing is the U.S. government has so-called declassified this new evidence as they continue to try to come up with a smoking gun, which they don't have. Can't you join me, Maria, in asking the U.S. government to release this unclassified information?
I don't need to see any unclassified information. I've already heard from these companies and their CEOs many times, Andy. And when I look at Vodafone, the reason that Vodafone is now on a neutral level is because you settled with them, and these settlements ensure that they have to cease and desist and not discuss the case anymore.
Vodafone has said publicly, and recently, in response to this Wall Street Journal article, that they are not worried, that they provide the equipment that allows the lawful intercept from our equipment. We don't provide that our equipment. Without their equipment, there can be no access.
Okay, so
we can't access the information.
Here's a story that I have in front of me from Vodafone Group PLC. Vodafone Group PLC has acknowledged that it has found vulnerabilities going back years with the equipment supplied by Shenzhen-based Huawei for the carrier's Italian business. While Vodafone says the issues were resolved, the revelation may further damage the reputation of a major symbol of China's global technology prowess. This is a Bloomberg story. Why don't you Google it?
All equipment has vulnerabilities. That's different than an intentional malicious backdoor, Maria, and you know that.
All equipment has vulnerability? All equipment does not have backdoors to the Chinese Communist government. Why do you have so many backdoors going to the Chinese government, the communist government, so that anybody's data is out there and goes right back to the Chinese government? We know this. Huawei is a Chinese company. If you can't go against China's rule, are you going to say to Xi Jinping, oh, we're not going to put a backdoor in this? Are you going to go up against that, even though we know that Chinese companies have to listen to the communist government of China?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, when you look at this situation, look at it in the macro sense, the United States is trying to hurt China by hurting Huawei. Clearly, the United States is hurting America more than it's hurting Huawei. And the United States will not think dispassionately about what is most important to the United States in terms of the competition with China. The United States will not create a technology innovation policy. They will not think dispassionately about the impact of our ability to sell to the U.S.
Come on, Andy. Please. The chairman of your company is a member of the Communist Party. The chairman of your company is a member of the Communist Party, correct?
We can put in evidence.
How many board members on Huawei's board are members of the Communist Party?
I have no idea, Maria. But we can prove that our equipment is not subject to any influence for the China government, and we can prove that our employees are not subject to that new influence.
I've got this right here. Europe's biggest phone company identified hidden backdoors in the software that could have given Huawei unauthorized access to the carrier's fixed line network in Italy, a system that provides internet service to millions of homes. It's pretty clear that Huawei wants to set up all the infrastructure in all of as many countries as will allow it by giving them cheap infrastructure so that then they have the backdoors into all of this data, and the Chinese government, the communist government, can steal data and get smarter in terms of how others are doing their business or whatever it is that the communist government wants this data for.
Apparently, most of the world does not agree with you. Most of the world does not believe there is such evidence. We have testing mechanisms in place in the United Kingdom, in Bonn, in Brussels, in Canada, where the equipment can be tested. The former deputy to the DNI said, we can find backdoors, and we have mechanisms in place for accessing data. We can prove that our data is only subject to total control by the carriers. Every keystroke that we access is recorded. They know what we access, and they know what we do with it. Yeah. So we can prove we're not subject to the undue influence of the China government.
You can prove that because you've got Chinese communists on the board and running the company. The chairman of the board is a member of the Communist Party. You have several board members that are members, official members of the Chinese Communist Party, Andy. You should know this, and I know you do know this because you're the chief security officer.
But, Maria, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I know you think you are, but you're not.
Okay.
The fact is there are mechanisms in place where independent experts can test the software for vulnerabilities and can test for backdoors.
Okay.
And regarding the updates to the equipment, independent experts can evaluate the updates. They can make sure that there's no improper access by Huawei to any customer
networks.
So where were
these independent experts when Vodafone found the back doors? Where were these independent experts when others throughout Europe and Africa found the back doors after you installed free infrastructure in African nations? Where were these independent experts? And by the way, who are these independent experts? I'd like to have them on the show.
Sure, I'll get you names of companies that are independent experts. That I don't know the names off the top of my head, Marie. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because the Pentagon reportedly set to back new U.S. restrictions on Huawei technologies, reversing earlier opposition to the proposal meant to further crack down on exports. How has this impacted the company, Andy?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Well, we have now new restrictions on Huawei equipment. How has it impacted your company? The Pentagon is set to back these new restrictions on Huawei technologies.
Well, there are two issues. There's our ability to sell, and what you're talking about is the ability of up to 300 American companies want to sell to Huawei. The Department of Defense had interposed objections to the commerce rule, as did Treasury, that would further limit the ability of American companies to sell to Huawei. We purchase about $11 billion a year. The fact is, and I've just come back from detailed meetings at headquarters in Shenzhen, it's clear that while the impact on Huawei, there will be an impact of the fact that we can't buy those technologies. And we would like to come back and buy them. But what is certain is we're going to be fine. Our plan B is working well. We're going to be incredibly successful, even if we don't buy from American companies, and America is going to lose. The U.S. has to think about what is going to benefit the U.S. the most. What are the consequences of these decisions, and what kind of risk mitigation can be put in place? Those discussions need to be had.
You know what civil fusion is, where any technology going into China has to first go to the military. You know the Chinese aspirations to be the #1 superpower in the world, both economically and militarily. Your products are enabling other companies to allow access into their data so that the Chinese government can have those goals and achieve those goals. It's very clear, and now more people know this. Secretary Pompeo just gave a speech last week to the governors about what the Chinese government is doing, and your company is an arm of the Chinese government. You cannot go against the Chinese government and say, we're not going to have a backdoor, we're not going to give access so that the data goes back to the Chinese government. It's against the law. You're going to go fight with Xi Jinping on this?
Experts know that we can test. Independent experts can test for backdoors.
How are you testing it? How are you? Give us how you're testing it. What are the tests?
Talk to Domain 5, for example, where they do a complete breakdown of the code. Why do you think Nokia and Ericsson are allowed to do business in the United States despite their deep ties to China, including deep ties to the China government? Because there's a government-monitored risk mitigation, including independent testing of their products. We want to talk about that with the U.S. government.
Why did you settle with umpteen 10-plus companies in terms of intellectual theft? Why all the settlements? Motorola, Cisco, Ericsson, across the board, American companies have said, Microsoft, we had the former CEO on this program saying that the theft of intellectual property from China costs the company tens of billions of dollars every year. Why all the settlements? And then those settlements include a cease and desist letter to those CEOs saying you cannot discuss what just went on.
But Maria, let's be fair. Let's look at the history of that industry, the telecommunications mobile industry. Let's look at the number of lawsuits. I don't need to look at the history of the industry, Andy. I'm looking at Huawei Technologies, the open doors that allow the data to go back to the Chinese government, and I'm looking at the intellectual theft that Huawei has done on all of these telecom companies. What is Huawei anyway? Huawei began because it was the beginnings of a Canadian company, Nortel, which you changed the name of. Not you, but your executive changed the name of, and it became Huawei. That was actually a Canadian company. Let's get the evidence released on this major allegation by the U.S. government. They will not release the information because they do not have evidence that we put backdoors.
They're releasing it every day, Andy. Secretary Pompeo was talking to all the governors last week. He's been on this set talking to me about the risks around Huawei. The president, while doing a trade deal, is also telling everybody in America the risks around Huawei. If you want to do business with Huawei, do it with your eyes open because they will steal, they will cheat, and they will have open doors to the Chinese government. We know this, Andy.
Fortunately, the UK government has said they want to take an evidence-based approach. As our closest allies, they are rejecting what the U.S. says, and there's a reason for that. And while they talk in high-level terms about this most recent allegation, they will not produce facts that demonstrate that they're correct.
All right, Andy, when you come back, I hope you can bring some of that evidence with you, because we would all like to see it. I think both sides would benefit from seeing this evidence that you refer to, sir.
Thank you.
We will see you soon. Andy Purdy.